Hello, I'm Monty Betham, and thank you for choosing Once a Warrior. 79 is the number of games that Stephen Kearney played for the club. 79 is also the number of games that he coached for the club at first grade level. Mooks, thank you very much for being my guest on the show today, my man.
No, thanks for having me, Mont.
Is there not an easier job in the world to be coaching the Melbourne Storm side, brother?
Oh, no, there's some pretty high standards here, Mont. The boss certainly runs a really tight ship. He, I think we're in Brisbane 2 weeks ago, and I think we're up by 40, and you would have thought we were down by 40 the way he was carrying on in the box. So he runs like I said, he's set some very high standards at the footy club.
27 years ago, legend, you laced up for the first time for the Warriors, and you could play. So let's just remind the people of how good you were.
Kearney with a great run. The big second run. Kearney! Steve Kearney takes him on. The big man hits back. Great run by Kearney. Great run from Steve Kearney. Inspirational stuff. Kearney stepping. Oh, brilliant from Stephen Kearney. Kearney right out of the post. Kearney heavens right through. Kearney. Terrific run from the skipper.
What about the skills from this young Warriors captain?
Well, he's a great player, Steve Kearney.
Kearney will get there!
Mooks, when you watch that back, that footage, you could play, brother. And what about that fend?
Yeah, well, again, Mont, I think, I was pretty fortunate. I mean, we, back in the early days at the Warriors, I reckon we, had a pretty talented side. So he had a little halfback who was who was very good. He certainly attracted a few defenders, so he made it a lot easier for the people around him. So playing in front of the home crowd, certainly was an exciting time and something very special.
Okay, so as a 19-year-old, you packed your bags, you went overseas because you wanted to follow a professional rugby league career. When you heard that there was something happening here back at home, how did it come about putting the plans in place to get Stephen Kearney home?
I went to Australia at the end of '91. Left home there in Waikanae and out to Campbelltown, and me and my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, it would have been early January, February of '94. I was approached to, have a think about coming home, and there were a couple of other clubs which, were, to be honest, were offering, some more money, and just the opportunity to play out your dream of playing NRL, in front of the home crowd, for your people back home, certainly was a dream come true. So I didn't hesitate in wanting to come back. By the time they had assembled the squad, there were some wonderful players, who were coming to the club. Dean Bell, who someone I really looked up to. Playing over in the UK and played for Wigan. I'd get up early on a Sunday morning, watch the Challenge Cups that he'd play in, and to get the opportunity to actually play with him, was really exciting. Dennis Betts, Andy Platt, two guys who, we sort of bumped heads in '93. Myself and Dennis, he was playing for Great Britain at the time. And so, obviously a back row who I looked at as a peer. One player who, sort of really took my eye, who quite honestly could have been anything, was Tony Tutupu. He was an unbelievable athlete in my eyes. He was quick, had wonderful skill, big body, and what he could do on the footy field. And I used to scratch my head, wow, that's pretty special. And the chief, Tony Tuimavave, when you talk about guys, coming into contact with guys, he was tough as nails, So the experience, brought that about, being able to play with those sorts of players and come across talent, like I've just spoken about.
Everyone remembers where they were on March the 5th, 1995. It was a Friday night. It would have been unreal.
Oh, yeah. To walk down the tunnel and to hear, the drums and more so the fans, to hear that noise, it was, you know, like it was pretty special. You know, I thought we, you know, played pretty well. I thought there was, you know, a little fella in the other team who did a pretty good job on us in the end, Alfie Langer. I just thought that was a real positive start, you know, to our existence, you know, in terms of, you know, the way that we played that night. And I mean, the energy that the crowd gave us was just fabulous.
You come back here around the hype, the red carpet treatment, and then the crazy euphoria that is the Auckland Warriors at the time. Talk to me about those early memories. What was it like on the ground?
You know, it was unbelievable, the hype and the excitement around the team when it first come in. You know, like we were the talk of the country, to be honest. And I'm not 100% sure, you know, to be honest, once that did us any favours. You know, like I certainly get all the hype about it, but you know, looking back on it now, you know, it was really important that we delivered, you know, and made sure that we lived up to those expectations. So I'm probably a little bit, you know, old school in the sense I'd rather keep it on the down low and then, you know, deliver big, you know. So, but again, that was, you know, we were selling something to the New Zealand people, and you know, Ian Robson did an unbelievable job of doing that, and so much excitement and energy, you know, about the footy club, which was, you know, fantastic for the game of rugby league in New Zealand.
Expectations on yourself, expectations on the squad through '95. Was it mentioned enough? Was there enough to be said about, you know, it's about the long run? Were there talk about finals footy in that first year?
No, not that I can remember. But I think if, you know, the one thing, you know, we certainly had the capability. There was no doubt about that. But I felt I was still rookie myself, learning, you know, how to play consistently well every week, and what that took, you know, every day, every week, you know, every game, and all of those young, you know, that young talent, that I, you know, hadn't seen before. That the capability was there. It was about learning how to, you know, harness that every week, get ready every day, get ready every week, and be ready every game to play the best you can. And so that was always, you know, that was always the challenge, and some of us did it better than others. And you know, John and you know, Dean Bell, you know, they come from footy clubs that were winning championships and winning finals. So you know, I know they certainly set a tone for us. But again, I just thought, you know, we certainly had the capability. There's no doubt about that.
You played a big part in '95, but '96 you were the Player of the Year. You know, with your coaching cap on, when you look back on that, I think, why were you so deserving, and who were your partners in crime that helped you? Because I know there was that little man you keep talking about, Stacey Jones. The combination you guys set was pretty electric at times.
Yeah. You know, Stace, he made you look good, you know. So that was, and I don't mean that. I mean, you know, the way that he played, he could open up, you know, holes for you that, you know, that weren't there, you know. Like, so he wasn't an X's and O's man, you know. Like, he wasn't it was all an instinctual, you know, feeling for him. At times he was going to be I was an edge forward, he was going to be, you know, playing inside me. So it was really important that I had a, you know, relationship with him, particularly on the field, obviously. So I tried to build as much of a combination with him as I possibly could. You know, I understood, you know, so I had an understanding for what he was looking for when he was carrying the footy. He knew what I was after when, you know, I needed the footy. So Stace was pretty quick, you know, like he moved really quickly. So, you know, I could put him under, you know, a bit of pressure with my size, and I could try and get my arm free, and, you know, Stace could loop around and support, so I could get him an offload. So that's how it sort of, you know, how it started. Obviously nowadays it's, you know, it's a lot more, you know, like it's a lot more technical, to be honest. But in essence, it's the same.
I was very fortunate in '97. The first my year full time was myself and David Solomon and Ali Lautiti that were full time. There's a lot of memories that stick in my mind. The first one was the first time you mentioned my name. We were in the plunge pool and you knew who I was, and I thought, that's typical of this guy who was the ultimate professional, an absolute legend, and he had time for everyone else. The second one, and you may have selective memory, my man. We're out there on Mount Smart, and it was a tackling drill, and big Ali Lautiti, and you had to make just one tackle. The problem was that you couldn't make one tackle. Do you remember this day? Let me continue on, because then Ali would clean beat you to the right, and you would be loud, and you'd carry on. Then you'd say, come back again, Ali. And then Ali came and clean beat you to the left. And this went on for, I'd say, probably 4 or 5 tackles. Mooks, do you remember that? It was a selective memory.
Oh, you've just jogged my memory, Mont. I'm happy to say I wasn't. There was a lot of players that he beat, so I'm happy to join them. Yeah, he and again, like in all of this, when I talk about stays, like Ali was pretty special. Like to be that size, move that well. The feet, the skills. As an older fellow, I guess, I certainly didn't want to, didn't like getting beaten, but watching what he did from then on, I'd say, well, gee, I'm pretty sure I got him towards the end there, once surely.
You had undoubted talent, and you worked harder than most. You were the most professional I've seen early on, which helped me with my career. There would be a number of people that would see you be at your absolute best, and you were high performance before there was even a thing of high performance. You were before your time once again, but you were young in yourself in those early days. Who of the older boys in and around you in those early days here at the Warriors did you learn a little bit off, or find yourself gravitating towards?
If I'm honest, I didn't think I was super talented. Yet I could, I had a little bit of footwork, and I could offload the footy. So I've got to try and find a way to do it my way and do it the best that I can. And whether that meant that I had to go on a 40-30-30 diet, or do Pilates or whatever it was to make me perform best on the weekend. That was my job. So I felt I've got to do it. I always took a real keen interest on, watching the older players and what they did. Phil Blake was one. He would do speed routines, which obviously was a real, strength of his. He would do speed, exercises that I'll, inquire about. In terms of, being professional and trying to find an edge. I remember, John Kerwin, and he was trying to get the best out of himself. He achieved the absolute pinnacle in rugby union, and the courage that he showed to come across to rugby league, and then he would be last off the training paddock because he was trying to learn a new game, similar but different. And to see that, like in my eyes, I'm thinking like that, that's someone who's got a real dedication, like a real thirst to want to get the best out of himself. So those little experiences, were super beneficial in myself. I took lessons from all the boys, members of the team that I could. Some were I knew were going to help me, and some that I thought, oh no, I probably won't do that. Some were lessons that I thought, well, no, that's probably not the right thing to do. So
now you joined the Warriors in its inception, and you weren't far off joining at the same time with the Melbourne Storm. What was your first impressions?
If I'm honest, I thought, certainly after 4 years back home, and the way that I saw it was that I'd been there 4 years, and I was just about to get the third coach, at the Warriors, and the window of my opportunity to achieve what we all as players want to achieve in terms of getting a premiership. The window's closing. I need to make a tough decision here, and I went to Melbourne. It was sort of mid-December, and they were in the middle of their pre-season. And I went to Melbourne I thought was to sign the deal. I'd agreed to a deal to go there, and I thought I was going across to shake hands and meet some people and basically ink the deal as they say. So and I've got across there. I'm got my jandals on and walked into the gym. And there the team's doing a weight session, and I'm meeting the physio. Just the normal stuff when you get introduced and then they asked me, the coach asked me, "Oh, mate, did you bring any running shoes?" Chris Anderson, "Did you bring any running shoes?" I says, "Oh, well, I didn't think I was coming to train. I thought I was coming to, sign me deal." And he said, "Oh, what size are you?" I told him my size, and next week they come back with some, with some running shoes. Like, oh, okay, and a kit. And then they put me on a treadmill, and I had a 17-minute fitness test on the treadmill, and I was a little bit taken aback by it, but in the back of my mind, I was thinking this club means business, but I think it was probably them sending the message to me, like I said to you earlier about I guess the hype around our. Back in '95, they just said, "No, put your running shoes on, jump on that treadmill, and I'll get it going faster and faster and faster." And luck, chance, whatever you want to call it, that when I joined the club in '99, that we were fortunate enough to play, in the grand final against the Dragons that year, and to go on and lift the trophy.
There's only been 3 players to play at first grade level for the club, and then also coach the club at first grade level, and 3 absolute legends: yourself, Ivan Cleary and Stacey Jones in the caretaking role. Were you always going to coach?
I felt that I was. Craig come here for 2003 and 2004, my last 2 playing years here at Melbourne, and what he brought to the footy club, I'm thinking to myself, like, if he had been my coach when I was 19, I'm sure I would have been, I'm positive that I would have been a lot better player. So just in terms of, the education that he gives you, and obviously, as I said, the expectation, or the standard that he holds. If I was thinking about being a coach, at that time when he come to the club, like, he only heightened the feeling that I had. This is what I'd like to do.
Okay, Mooks, do you remember your Warriors debut as coach then? Does it hit a little bit different in terms of memories?
They're definitely, they're definitely different. That whole time in coming into the club, it wasn't. Let me put it this way. Once it wasn't as exciting, and the build-up wasn't like it was when I made my playing debut for the footy club. But nevertheless, I guess in my heart, that it was the same thing. It was about wanting to make, do my best for the footy club, to make rugby league people, Warriors people, proud of their footy club. So, again, when you strip it all back, that was the key, I guess, purpose or motivation, in me wanting to do that job. So, and that was no different to when I play. The reasoning for coming back and wanting to play. So it was about trying to pass on, I guess, my thoughts and experience and expertise about wanting to be a consistent NRL player, and to be honest, that's when I come back, there was some individuals that needed to understand what that looked like every day, and there were guys that really took to it. There was guys that didn't it took a bit of time to get used to it. So but that's don't trust me, we have the same issue here. Like it doesn't differ too differently at most clubs. So that was the important part that I felt that I needed to try and get to the group.
Okay, the nerves between playing and coaching, what were the comparisons? What were they like?
There's no comparison. It's a lot easier, playing. There's no doubt. Like you just worry about yourself, and to be honest, I did a pretty good job of that. Like I was, in terms of just focusing on what I needed to do to play well. When you're in the hot seat, you got a lot of people to consider and a lot of things to take to hand. So it's a lot different. Definitely.
When I watch the game now and over the years, I sort of pick out players and think, geez, I would have liked to play alongside that guy in the Warriors colours. When you were coaching those guys, who were a couple of those players that you thought, geez, I would have loved that time to be in your team, because that could have been a potent little duo?
The one that stands out for me and whom I have a great admiration for is that Simon Mannering, and I only had him for a couple of years, but not enough is said about his contribution, to the footy club. 300 games and quality games. Like, he's never below an 8 out of 10. That is. And to do that, sometimes it was in the back row, sometimes it was at centre, and to rack up, that sort of performance was just incredible. I don't know how we, could have complemented each other. He might have done all the tackling, I could do all his running. I don't know. He was pretty good at that. He was pretty good at both, to be honest. But he was certainly one that that I thought, geez, you want to play alongside that fella. He was incredible to have in your team. As a coach, you're so reliable.
Mox, we both love the club. You've coached the club, you've played for the club at the highest level. You know a lot about it. You've won a premiership. What must the club do? What do you want to see the club do to get to that next level, which is to win a premiership?
Yeah, it's a tough one, Monty. Again, I would love nothing more than to see the footy club, succeed. The shining light for our game back home, so it's really important for our game that that the club's successful, and I think it's really important in terms of that we develop our own talent. I think in terms of a process, you look at footy clubs that are doing really, really well at the moment. The Panthers obviously stand out. They've got local kids coming through their system, and I think there's a real opportunity for us to you would have come through the system at the footy club, and a lot of the guys names that have been through our footy club of local talent. So it's really important that we do a job in developing that. The club will be able to give itself the best opportunity, like it did when it made those those 2 grand finals. They certainly had that process in place.
Once a Warrior, always a Warrior. Mooks, I thank you for the huge contributions you did for this Warriors club over many years as a player and also as a coach. You epitomise what it means to be a Warrior, my man.
Oh, I appreciate that, Mons, and thanks very much for having me.
I'm Monty Betham. Join me next week for another episode of Once a Warrior.
Kearney with a great run. The big second run. Kearney! Steve Kearney takes them on. The big man hits back. Great run by Kearney.
Great run from Steve Kearney.
Inspirational stuff. Kearney stepping. Oh, brilliant from Stephen Kearney. Kearney right out of the post. Kearney heavens right through. Kearney, terrific run from the skipper.
What about the skills from this young Warriors captain?
Well, he's a great player, Steve Kearney.
Kearney will get